and I'm going to share. Just let me know when you can see a screen that says, welcome to Vanderbilt orientation. When you can see that, you can go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. Let that load up. Okay. So I'm going to introduce myself really quick. We'll talk about arrival and dismissal. We'll talk about uniforms. We'll talk about safety, bus expectations. I know not everybody's going to ride the bus, but I am going to go through those for everybody. We'll talk about visitor policy. We'll talk about parent pickup. We'll talk about what the day is going to look like. We'll talk about attendance, and then we'll talk about student culture policies. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. Like I said, stop me if you have any questions. So that's me. I'm Miss Littman. That's Miss Eason. She's the music teacher at our school, and we're really lucky because she's going to be in our classroom for a lot of the day. She's going to be teaching music inside of the classroom so that kids do not have to leave the room to go to enrichment. And she's also going to be pulling a reading group so that we'll have 2 really small reading groups where kids get instruction that's on their just right level. So we are both going to be in the room for the majority of the day. I'll be in the room the whole day. So I'm Miss Littman. I have 7 years of teaching experience. I love teaching 2nd grade. I've been at it for a couple years now, and I'm really excited to welcome your babies back on Tuesday. And we are going to be in a school year that's super different from what we've had before, but I think it'll be good. We'll be really safe and following lots of COVID compliant policies. I'm going to share this video with you. It's a KIPP New Orleans video that goes through a lot of like the safety procedures and health questions that you might have. It's like 6 minutes, but it does have a lot of important information in it. So I am going to play it for you right now. Feel free to like
the health and safety
off mute if you want me to pause it or if you want to re-listen to something.
Of our school community is the #1 priority for KIPP New Orleans schools. We all know that this is a unique school year, but your schools are working hard to create a safe environment while producing rich and rigorous teaching. We have carefully examined guidelines from the CDC, Louisiana Department of Education, New Orleans Health Department, and NOLA Public Schools to create the best possible safety features and precautions in our schools. While health is a priority, it is also important that we make the school day feel as normal as possible. Students will still have recess and access to outdoor spaces in a controlled and fun setting. This video will illustrate what families and students should expect to see this school year. We know that wearing a face mask is one of the best ways we can stop the spread of COVID-19. Every person entering into a school building will be required to wear a face mask or face covering the entire time they are on school grounds. This includes teachers, students, and any campus visitors, which will be limited. Signs are posted at every entryway as a reminder. Staff and students will be provided masks if they do not have their own. Everyone entering our buildings will go through a health screening. These screenings will include a temperature check. We have invested in infrared contactless thermometers to check the temperature of anyone entering the building, and have trained staff to ensure no one enters without this health screening. All students will have their temperature taken before going to their classrooms. Car riders will have their temperatures taken while in their parents' cars. Any person with a temperature at or above 100.4 will not be allowed in the building. All students and staff members will wash their hands regularly, at least once every 2 hours. Hand sanitizing stations will be placed throughout the entire school building. Students will be encouraged to wash or sanitize their hands upon entering and exiting the building, before and after eating, and after each transition. Signs are posted throughout the school to help remind staff and students. All school buses will operate with reduced capacity based upon the manufacturer's maximum. Buses will be limited to 50% capacity during Phase 2 and 75% capacity during Phase 3. Students will be assigned to a single bus and have an assigned seat. All students will be separated and socially distant as much as possible while on the school bus. Students will also be required to wear a mask on the bus. Changing drop-off locations and switching routes will not be allowed. Parents and students should practice social distancing at bus stops to the greatest extent possible. Students will be limited to classes of 23 students. In our pre-K through 8th grade schools, students will be in static groups, which means they are with the same set of students for the entire day. In our high schools, students will be in non-static groups and must remain 6 feet apart at all times. Until further notice, there will be no large group activities or field trips. Student groups will not mix in the restroom, on the playground, or in common large areas. Meals will be provided to all students regardless of whether attending in person or virtual. For in-person students, all meals will be eaten in classrooms to limit interactions between student groups.
I'm just going to pause it for a second and say that those bags are for breakfast. So kids will grab a bag for breakfast and bring it up to the room, but they will be getting a hot lunch delivered every day to the classroom. So I don't want people to think that like kids are only going to be eating like cold sandwiches. They will be getting a hot lunch. It's just going to be delivered for lunch up to the room.
Students will be allowed to remove their masks to eat and drink. All water fountains will be closed and students are encouraged to bring refillable water bottles with water already in them. All high-touch and high-traffic areas will be disinfected multiple times a day. Disinfectants determined to be effective against COVID-19 by the EPA will be used nightly in all classrooms, restrooms, offices, playground equipment, and other common spaces. Additional intensive cleanings will occur in any area in which a suspected illness has occurred. Every KNOS school has 1 or 2 nurses on staff to help evaluate and screen students and staff members. Our nurses have all undergone additional COVID-19 trainings and are prepared to help keep our community safe. Anyone that feels sick should not report to school. A list of COVID-19 symptoms to be aware of are posted in all of our schools. We are 100% one-to-one technology, which means that every KNOS student will have either a laptop or a tablet. By having their own device, we can reduce the risk of using shared devices. This will also help in case there is a needed switch from in-person learning to virtual learning. Families in need of the internet will also be provided mobile hotspots so that they can continue learning where needed. Parents, we encourage you to practice wearing a mask, keeping your distance, and hand washing at home with your Kipster. For a more detailed list of all of our safety procedures, please visit the reopening section of our website at kipneworleans.org. If you have any questions about these videos or the safety procedures, you can reach out to us at coronavirus@kipneworleans.org. We truly appreciate you putting your trust in us during this difficult time. Our commitment to our mission of creating unlimited opportunities for every student remains the same, no matter the school model. When we work together, there isn't anything we can't achieve. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you and your scholar at school.
Okay, I'm gonna go over some more details just like at our school level, but does anybody have any questions before I move on? Thank you. Okay, so our safety priorities, like we talked about in the video, just like making sure we layer our defenses. Some staff will have shared responsibilities to limit transmission, and we're just gonna be really flexible this year to make sure that our kids are getting everything they need and staying healthy. So in that, we're making sure that staff, students, and visitors are wearing masks all the time, regardless of age. We're conducting temperature checks daily and wellness checks, frequent hand washing before and after kids use the bathroom. We're going to be having scheduled bathroom times for our class, and the custodians are also on the same schedule. There's one bathroom that second graders only are able to use. Nobody else in the school will be using it. And the custodians, before it's our time to go use the restroom, will be thoroughly disinfecting the whole restroom so that our students are safe when they go use the restroom. If there's an emergency, a restroom emergency, there will be one pass for a student to go use the restroom. And we'll just make sure that they're washing their hands before and after they use the restroom. We're also making sure that we have static groups like they talked about in the video. The kids in my class will not be interacting in person with any other classes or any other teachers besides myself and Miss Eason, just to make sure that we are staying in that static group. We're also going to be reducing, like they said in the video, reducing the bus capacity to 50%. So every kid on the bus gets their own assigned seat that they'll sit in every single day. They'll be wearing a mask, and just to ensure that they're socially distant on the bus. And then every classroom has key supplies like hand sanitizer, disinfectant, so that I can disinfect all the materials every day along with the custodians. So they'll get like a double disinfectant. And the kids will also have access to hand sanitizer, not only in the classroom, but like throughout the entire building, different stations. So I'm going to talk about the school day a little bit. So at school, kids will get reading, writing, math, and social emotional learning. Social emotional learning is just like during morning meeting and closing circle, and then at other times throughout the day, talking about like achieving our goals, character habits, making sure that kids are making good decisions, all that good stuff. Enrichment will take place, like I said earlier, inside the classroom. We're lucky to have Miss Eason, who's going to be in the room with us, so the kids will not have to leave the room to get their music and enrichment class. Recess, unfortunately, because of COVID, we won't be able to use the jungle gym. It's just not COVID compliant, but we will be able to use the recess yard. So if kids need like a breather, they'll be able to like run around as long as they're doing it in a safe way. They're not like touching each other, but they will be able to be outside. Hot lunch, like I said, is going to be dropped off to eat in the classroom for lunch. And I already talked about the group bathroom breaks and making sure that we're practicing good hand hygiene and social distancing. And like I said, if there's a bathroom emergency, obviously there will be one single pass for a kid to use to go use the restroom. So our reading goal this year for second grade is to read 105 words per minute or more in order to be third grade ready. And I'll talk a little bit in a couple more slides. I'm going to talk about how you can support at home with that, but we will be doing a lot of practice at school with reading fluency to make sure kids are getting quicker with their reading. Oops. Okay. So for bus riders, all families will receive bus information via text before Tuesday. So a lot of folks have not received like information about the buses. That's because the bus company is still making like seat assignments, making sure that kids are going to be socially distant. So you will receive that information before school starts, and the bus will run on the first day of school, which is going to be Tuesday for second graders. If there's any bus changes, it does take at least 2 weeks for those to be processed, just because kids need to be in their assigned seats. It's hard to rearrange things, so it does take a lot longer for that to be rearranged if there is a bus change. But if you do have any concerns, Miss Barberin has her email here and her phone number. And like I said, I will be sending this entire presentation out to everyone so that they can have all this information. The bus expectations are that kids stay in their assigned spot the whole time. They have their masks on the whole time. They keep their hands and their body to themselves and safe. They're using kind language, and they're eating snacks at home for a couple reasons, but mostly just we don't want kids to be like taking off their mask, eating on the bus, touching the bus, then putting their fingers in their mouth. Like, we're just trying to keep them safe and hygienic on the bus. They can bring snacks to school in their lunchbox. If you want them to do that, that's fine. We're just trying to prevent them from eating on the bus. Students have to wear their masks at all times while they're on the bus. And like I said, they're required to stay in their assigned seat. So here's the drop-off times for parent pickup. So the doors open at 8 o'clock in the morning. And after 8:45, a student is considered tardy. So just make sure that in that window, we're getting kids to school. All car riders are going to be dropped off at the corner of Rampart and Spain. So it's like in the back of the school, behind the school on Rampart. And students are going to be met at their car by a staff member for temperature screening. So somebody will come up to your car, take the student's temperature. If the student does have a fever of 100.4 degrees or higher, they'll return to the car. If you feel like they were just hot and like you don't actually think they have a fever or they're sick, you can like give them a sip of water or have them cool down in the car and then come back, but they do need to be under 100.4 degrees in order to enter the building. It will be a slow process, especially at the beginning. So we're just asking for like patience and grace because we do have limited staff. We need to make sure all students are coming into the building are healthy, and they have to be screened before the car leaves. So it is going to be a little bit slower than we're used to, unfortunately, but it's in the name of keeping everyone safe. This is just a map of drop-off. This is also going to be the same place where you pick up students. So the back of the school, this red line shows like where the car line will lead to up here on Marigny Street. And then the side doors over here on Spain are where the students are going to enter and exit during the day. So they'll enter there in the morning, pick up their breakfast, and then when they come out for parent pickup, they will come out of these same side doors. If they're taking the bus comes up to the front on St. Claude. So like I said, all students will receive a temperature screening as they enter the building, a temperature check, and they'll pick up their food for breakfast. Car riders will have 2 temperature checks, one in the car and then one when they get their breakfast. And then when they get their breakfast, they'll bring it right to their classroom and they'll eat. And then, like I said, it's going to be pretty slow at the beginning. If students have symptoms at arrival, or if they develop symptoms during the day, they're going to be moved to a contained space where they can be safely distanced from other students, and then their family will be notified for them to be picked up immediately. We just don't want, even if it's not COVID related, like it could be the flu, we just want to keep students, teachers, families safe. So please don't send your child to school if they have a fever of 100.4 degrees or higher. If you've given your child fever-reducing medicine, if your child is nauseous, vomiting, diarrhea, or has difficulty breathing, or just as importantly, if somebody in your house has tested positive for COVID, or if somebody in your house has been exposed to someone with COVID, making sure you notify us and that we're not sending kids to school because they could put other kids at risk. And down here, this is really important information. Booker T. Washington has this brand new great clinic open from 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. Here's the phone number, and you'll get this in the email, but you do not have to make an appointment. I've already been. I've gotten COVID tested there, and I've gotten an antibody test to tell me if I've had it in the past. It was super quick. It's free to any student, free to any student's family. So even if like you just want to go get tested yourself, that's at Booker T. Washington High School. They have a clinic in their nurse's office, and it's completely free. Here's some more information about the other services they provide. So they'll treat like acute illnesses and injuries. They do hearing and vision screenings. Like I said, they do the COVID tests and antibody tests, and they'll also do flu shots. So that's good information to know. So this is what happens if somebody in the class, a student or a teacher, so either me or Miss Eason or any student in the class tests positive for COVID. Students in our class only will be quarantined away from campus for 10 to 14 days. And what that means is we'll just be going virtual for 2 weeks. So students will take their individual tablets home. I will be teaching them still over Zoom. And that's what's going to happen if somebody tests positive for COVID or if somebody has been exposed. And here are the symptoms. I'm sure you've heard them lots of times, but here they are again, just for your reference, like difficulty breathing, nausea, fever, things to look out for. And then here's just a little flow chart talking about if you or your students experiencing COVID-like symptoms, considering a COVID test, and then what happens if you test positive, making sure we're isolating, or if there's a negative test, staying home and taking care of ourselves until we're well again. And like the more we know, the better. So no judgment, but please let us know if somebody in the house or in the family has tested positive, or somebody that your student has been exposed to has tested positive, so that we can keep everyone in the school safe. Another thing that's changed for this year is in-person visits, unfortunately, are not going to be able to happen from parents. Parents can come into the front foyer, like to drop their student off or pick them up. But like if you're picking them up early or whatever, but all conferences and meetings are going to have to be held over the phone or on Zoom or FaceTime, just to keep all the kids safe. We can't have visitors in the building. My information is down here. My phone number, Miss Easton's phone number, is also on this slide too. Like I said, this slide will be going out, so you can have all that info. Early parent pickup. So if you want to check your child out early, the hours will be between 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So the day is already shortened anyway. Like I think the last call for parent pickup is like 3:10. It's from 2:40 to 3:10. I'll talk about that in the next slide. But early checkout's going to end at 2. The reason is they try to keep the foyer like super clear, especially with COVID, like very clear during dismissal, so that bus riders can exit without people being in the building trying to pick up their kids at like 2:55. So it ends at 2 o'clock. And then in order to check out a student early, families must bring an ID. Parents are going to be greeted outside of the door for early pickup, and the student will be walked down to the car. If there's any dismissal changes for the bus, like if your child is a bus rider and you want to pick them up that day, just make sure you call us before 1:30 so that we can make that change. It gets kind of hard if it's like 1:55 or 1:30. I'm sorry. Yeah. If it's like 1:55, 2 o'clock, and we're trying to like make dismissal changes, it gets kind of tricky. And like I said earlier, all bus change requests will require at least 2 weeks just to make sure the buses stay COVID compliant. Student dismissal. So the buses will depart the school at 3 p.m. Parent pickup is between 2:40 and 3:10. So you can start coming to pick your scholar up at 2:40, and then the window ends at 3:10. And then all parent pickup will now be met at the Spain Street dismissal door. That's the same door that they're going to be coming to for arrival for parent pickup. And like we said earlier, it's going to move slow. Definitely move slow at the beginning. Hopefully it'll get faster, but we just have to do so much, so many proactive things to like keep kids safe, temperature checks, keeping them socially distant at the door, all that stuff. Here's the same map that I showed you earlier. This is just the drop-off area. So here's Spain Street, here's St. Claude. We have Rampart at the back. So this is where the car line will be. And students will come out on Spain Street out of those side doors. Attendance is really important to make sure that kids don't miss important instruction, but we also understand that like this is a crazy time, life happens. If kids are sick, please bring a doctor's note when it applies. But also there are exceptions for COVID excused absences. So like if somebody tests positive in your household and you're letting us know that like the student can't come to school, of course we will excuse that absence because that is keeping everyone else in the school safe. So what to wear, ignore this gray shirt. Gray is for 3rd and 4th, but kids should wear a purple uniform shirt and either khaki, black, or gray bottoms if you have it. If you do not have it and getting a uniform is like not on your priority list right now, we want kids to come to school regardless. So like they can come as they are, just as long as they're in like appropriate clothing, no holes, all that stuff. We're not like super concerned about uniforms this year, but the uniform is purple polo, khaki, black, or gray pants or skirts. Personal items, this is another thing that's changed from last year. So we're trying to limit the amount of things that kids bring to and from school every day. So we're asking that they only bring their backpacks on Mondays and Fridays. So Monday they'll bring in their backpack, they'll get their homework folder with their homework in it for the whole week. But it'll be labeled like what they should do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We don't want them doing the whole thing on Monday unless you want them to. But they'll bring it home and then they'll bring it back to school on Friday to turn it in. And then they'll bring their backpack home on Friday as well. So they don't need to bring their backpack Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. They can bring lunch boxes if they want to bring their lunch, that's fine. And then if they do have a cell phone that you want them to have, like if they need it for when they get off the bus to call you or whatever the case may be, they'll just turn it into me in the morning and I'll give it back to them at the end of the day. Daily homework is going to include math review, ELA review, and then up here, that weekly fluency passage that I was talking about to help them meet that 105 words per minute goal. And then don't forget on Tuesday when the kids come into school, please bring their tablets and their chargers. And just let me know if they've been having any issues with the tablets. Like some parents were telling me they weren't holding a charge or whatever the case may be, and I'll let operations know so that they can either replace it or fix it, because they are going to be using the tablets in school for like Lexia, ST Math, and other blended learning activities. So we just want to make sure that they have those at school with them on Tuesday. And we're just trying to keep stuff, I mean, kids are going to have to wear masks all day. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be take some getting used to, but we're trying to keep everything else as normal as possible. Class Dojo, if you're not already signed up, I'm going to send you an invite for my class so that you can see how your kid's doing in terms of like how many points they're earning each day for behavior and participation and all that stuff. We're still going to be having celebrations in class. We're still going to have awards for attendance and all that good stuff to keep the fun going. I will also say, this wasn't in the slideshow, but kids are going to have their individual supplies. So like kids will have baskets under their chairs with all of their supplies in them, pencils, erasers, binders, all their stuff, whiteboards, whiteboard markers, so that they won't have to touch any of the same supplies as any of their classmates. We're just trying to keep everything individualized so that germs don't spread. In terms of like consequences, rewards, and our incentive system, we're just focused on making sure that kids are like building the habits and skills that they need to be successful in school and in life. So like taking responsibility for our actions. We're not focused on being punitive. We have like a restorative approach. If a kid makes a bad choice, we're talking to them, we're talking them through it, we're helping them fix their mistake, and holding kids accountable, but like in the best way possible. So that is our focus. Masks need to be worn at all times. I know it's tricky, it's hard. They're little in second grade. They're like 7 and 8. So I know it's gonna be hard, but we're gonna make sure that kids have their masks on just to keep themselves and their classmates safe. I think that shortening the school day will help with that. And then in order to practice social distancing, we're also gonna make sure that kids are staying in the same chair the whole day. Not necessarily, they might like move their chair from one table to like my teacher table for reading, but they will be in the same chair, so they will not be sharing chairs throughout the day. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening. I know that was a lot of information, but I'm also here to answer any questions that you may have. If you want to take yourselves off mute, anything that you may need, I'm here to answer your questions.
Yeah, they sent the text to my phone, and they have Laurel getting on the bus at the wrong stop.
Okay.
So how?
I'm going to text you Miss Darnell's phone number, who's in charge of buses. It's in the slideshow, but I'll text it to you right after this presentation so you can give her, and her email address, so you can give her a call to update any bus information. Because yeah, we definitely want to make sure that's taken care of before Tuesday.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions or need anything else from me before we sign off?
No, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Littman. Ms. Littman, I will be calling you personally from the phone.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If there's no more questions, I will log off. I'll talk to Charm's mom, and then I'm also going to Laurel's mom. I will email you or not email you. I will text you the information about the bus.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Okay.